It's gonna catch up. We're gonna pop up in there. We on? Hey y'all, hey y'all, what's
Hey,
up?
hello.
Peace, and love, fam. Queen Laterra is here. I am so excited to have you with us tonight on another episode of Sex in the Church. Tonight we are talking about Christianity versus spirituality. And the real question is, has the church just totally forgot about black women? Has the church just failed us black women? Honestly, I have two very insightful and spiritual black women here that are a part of Girl Church. I just want to say that. I want to plug that. We have wonderful conversation about God through the Bible with other texts that we engage as well. Every single last Wednesday night of the month, last Wednesday night of the month. Yeah, that's it. The last Wednesday night of the month, Girl Church. We meet at 1216 North. And so tonight I have just a couple of sisters that minister to my heart, that are the ones that I call when I'm pulling my hair out, screaming and crying, and they give me the word. One of them is none other than the Queen of Words, Erica Streeter. She's an author, a community organizer, a poetess. And we also have with us tonight the one and only Octavia Thomas. She is a cosmetologist, an entrepreneur, a wellness guru of sorts. And both of these women grew up in church, and they can both identify with a lot of us. When we say, y'all have gone to church, and now we see today where the pews don't look like they used to. Like, we remember back in the day. Back in the day when you was going to church, you had to scoot over. But now you can pretty much sit anywhere at most of these churches. Not all of them, but just most of them. And of course, it's not a blanket statement. Some of the churches are really getting it right? But some of the churches are really kind of flailing. And by large, I don't know of any single churches that are really catering to kind of the spiritual growth and the spiritual needs and the evolving understandings of black women today. So I'm going to open up by just wanting you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about why you think that this is a necessary conversation.
Anything that affects black women deserve time. It deserves time to be discussed. Because as much as we have been in the front of various things and situations and organizations and whatnot, the lead was still taken by men. And a lot of women have experienced so much hurt, harm, and danger.
Yes.
As they say, at the hands of not just church, but spiritual organizations.
That's true.
So,
that's true. That's why it's necessary.
That's
Amen.
why we talk about it.
Sister, y'all know I love me some Octavia Thomas because she come from a whole long line of singing church women, y'all. They are handsome church.
But I can't sing.
But she come from a long line of them real stonk down church folk now. I love her. When you hear the church is failing black women, what do you think we mean? And what are the top ways that kind of you've seen or experienced that?
Well, I think when you look at how we're being failed is we're not, to be honest.
Just be honest. It's just us.
Really.
Yeah.
The women, we do everything.
Oh, wow. The women do some of everything.
Yeah, we do. And
that gets old.
yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I feel you.
Actually, that's what came up when I was going through answering the questions. Is that it's kind of it's been historically an abusive relationship.
Girl, that I could go into that, but I want you to put it in your own words.
So the request or the demand, the expectation has been you show up and give me your everything.
Yes.
And I will keep you in subjection. You show up and give you your everything, and I will take
from you
from you
gladly.
With a smile. and a God bless you.
Oh my God.
You know, so
put it in
it's a
words.
thing.
Yes, give you
Yeah.
everything from
It's a
your
thing.
physical presence.
Everything.
Every Sunday.
Everything. All of your time.
Dress
all of your
up.
energy.
Yeah.
All
in-
of the effort. And your children.
and your children and your attention when you get here. I need you to be all
And shut
you know,
your mouth.
and shut up. Woo, Jesus. Y'all, somebody need to tap in, Lord. I need to look at some of these comments because I already know we got comments already. And that is so true. They want our bodies, they want our minds, and then they hold our souls hostage. It's like you got to jump through the hoops in order to get to heaven. What is your response?
Well, and that's the thing that I always say, you know, back in the day, people made it seem like it was so hard to be saved. And
Saved from what?
yeah, but you know, it's like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have
Yeah.
to do that
Right.
to get into heaven or wherever,
Uh-huh.
or to be accepted by the church. You know,
They making all these requirements.
don't have your arms out.
Mhm.
Don't have. I mean, the thing should be saving souls,
Exactly.
but what it's doing is just talk about what you wearing, what seat you in. You know, I can't do the whole churchy. This my seat. It's territorial. You know, instead of focusing on getting the souls right, getting the spirits, and,
Yeah.
you know, that type of thing. It's too much focus on everything but what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you was trying to save me, you wouldn't be worried about what my body looked like.
Girl, that's so real. That's real. So it seems like there's some dual agendas going on. Not only do they want everything from us, not only does, and I'm going to say they, but in order for the church culture to continue as it has been, it has required our everything, a complete oblation of ourselves, like we Jesus. And then, just as Octavia was saying, that the focus seems to be off. There seems to be more of a need for us to conform to the etiquette of the organization than to really open up and share our hearts and our vulnerabilities and you know, sisterhood and friendship and family. Trust. Yes. Right. It seems as though there's a lack of trust building. You know, human beings put them all in a pot, right? But we're gonna get to know each other. But if there is a focus for us to build relationship, if there is a focus for us to build friendship and trust, then it would feel differently. But it seems as though the focus has not been that. It's more so, hey, conform to these organizational requirements. Oh my goodness, y'all are talking. I can't even see that we're on live, but this is just conversation's just good. Okay, so this is what we're doing. I'm gonna say this in terms of, I'm gonna say my spirituality. I remember being a child and wanting to learn more about, say, astrology, right? Because I wanted to learn more about crystals. I wanted to know more about Muslims. I wanted to know more about everything. All the things.
Yeah,
anything
it's in our
spiritual.
world.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's who we are.
Masturbating, right? All of these things are things that I wanted to know more about because from a spiritual standpoint, that it wasn't being explained sufficiently. And when I would bring it to church, when I would bring it to church leaders or the church schools, whoever, it was like, oh, you know, that's not of God. You know, that's not of God. We can't talk about.
You've been looking at my notes.
Share with me your experiences. What you wrote down in your notes on that.
Well, growing up, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to do this. I didn't even want to wear a dress, you know. So there was that.
Yeah.
You know, I was that other one.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't fun for me. Yeah, we did vacation Bible school. They made me sing the choir for a little while, and you know, things like that. But it was never my jam. It was just never my jam.
Wow.
It just wasn't. So when it came a time where I couldn't kind of be forced to go, it was too much trouble, or it was out of the way. You know, no access to it. I was good with it. I really was good with it.
I was good with it.
I was. I really was. And it's not that I never had an appreciation for it.
Right.
Because I understood enough.
Yeah.
But for it to have been structured the way that it was with the person that I understood myself to be, and that was long before I even learned me, it just was not a good fit.
Wow.
Now, later on, I went back to into church and worship and learning and everything.
Yeah.
Especially when my children were very young.
I was going to say that.
When they were very young.
A lot
and
of
I
us.
didn't even go back to the church I grew up in. So that was a whole different transition.
Yeah.
Because I grew up Baptist, Southern Baptist, and I think they changed it to like full gospel and, all this stuff.
Right.
I guess, it was a mood change, I guess. I don't know. But I started attending a spinoff of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay.
So the transition was different.
Right.
And things, the requirements were different. It was definitely this modesty thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the first church that I joined, I studied with them for probably a year.
Yeah.
Before I joined that church. And I say church loosely because, by the time I was getting out of it, I'm like, that cult, I mean church. No, it was kind of like that.
Okay, it was like that. It was a lot of those are that way. That they're started by a person, and so the people that help start it are that person centered instead of a creed or a culture of a beloved community. Is really based on that person. And honestly, in studying in seminary, we learned that when you have an organization that is centered around a person, it actually technically is a cult.
Yeah.
You have any insight on that?
Well, like her, I did grow up in church, and as I became older, I don't want to say I was like a rebel or anything like that,
It's
but
okay to say that.
it's just that I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. Me and God got a great relationship.
Right.
But the other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, I just don't get with.
Yes.
All the things that go on, and I'm just trying to go and get a word.
I just want a word.
I just want a word.
Right.
I don't want to hear all the extra that's going on. That's what turns me off. Because if I'm going to go, I can stay home.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Because even when we're going to church, it's like ideally we're going into a place that is going to make us closer to God, to make us feel closer to God, to be embraced by this kind of the holiness of all, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're really expecting. And instead, just like O was talking about, there's the other stuff.
Yeah, the other stuff.
The backlash and the back channel communication and the venting of what didn't go right, and you know what I'm saying. There's that stuff, and we know that happens in every organization, right? But the focus to silence that for our benefit, that is what I don't see. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, if church is a business, then yeah, it's a business and we have business things that we need to take care of. But business should not be the forefront. It should not be the main focus of why people think that we're here. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think maybe I thought I was jaded just going into the ministry, but no, people in the pew feel the same way. Like, nobody wants to hear about the building fund every Sunday. and even whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, if it doesn't have to be the building fund, but how about care about me, right? Let me feel that this experience is me centered. And I think that's where church is missing the mark. It's coming here and sit down and listen to what I have to say. And I hope you feel good about it. Mm-hmm. Anybody got any response on that part before we go to the next question? You said it happens.
Well, yeah. And I mean, ideally, like you said, that's what we want. But of course, when you go in and talk with somebody, either it's going to be the sermon for the next Sunday, or everybody else going to be talking about whatever it is that you're going through.
That's it. Yes, it. What parts of spirituality, and I'm saying ancestors, meditation, chakras, incense, crystals, astrology have helped you heal and made you feel conflicted though as a Christian?
Well, I'll start. I mean, because I've done all of it. I have studied crystals. I love it. I am a Reiki practitioner.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah, and I enjoy it. I meditate. I also like, you know, anything dealing with cleansing of the energy and spirit and whatnot. But of course, we, you know, you ain't supposed to do that.
we shy away from it. But you know what? When I think about Reiki, I think about laying hands. My
But
grandmother.
they don't want to say it's the same thing.
It is. though.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
don't want to say it's
It
the same
is
thing.
the same thing because when I'm doing that, if you tell me, well, I've been having a problem with my legs or whatever, and I'm doing Reiki, I'm going to pray also.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's all.
I think
It's
the
all
church
the same.
folks are afraid of Reiki just because it sounds different and it sounds like something outside of church. Whereas the actual practice, the indigenous practices that we were taught to have disdain for, are the mainstay of what we do in church. So, because I remember my grandmother, Reverend Causey, was at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. May he rest in power. And he would bring people from the church to the house for my grandmother to lay hands. And it was normal.
Right.
These types of things are normal. Do you know or remember anything from your family practices that you see happening with our ancestors, with the elders, that we actually do in spirituality outside of the church, but they don't recognize? I think that laying hands and Reiki is definitely one of them.
And it's the sprinkling and it's the water on the head. It's the
Yes.
same practice. But when it's talked about whatever this new thing is, they're pretending like it's new or acting and speaking on it in ignorance, not understanding that it has always been.
It's always been.
We're not trying to shove something on you. We may have different words, but it's the same practice.
Yes, you made me think about rogation and Ifa. There is a practice where, it's a cleansing of the ori, and so when people need a cooler head, when people need to kind of calm things down, and there might be some entities or just some dis-ease with the way that you're thinking. People will do a rogation, a ritual, and it is pouring of liquids over the head, the forehead, which is very similar to what we do in church, even baptism.
Right.
There's just a form of baptism.
It's a cleansing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because
A
you say
cleansing.
like she got something on her. She got something on. Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want to wash off of her.
We got
This is
to
what we want
wash it off.
It's with the water. It's with the hands. It's with the energy. It's with the crystals. And don't say come over here with these rocks. It's biblical. The rocks and the stones and the shining and the going to the nature to get your signs and your symbols and your guidance.
Yes.
So this is not a new thing. And speaking of Bible, don't speak of Bible like it always was.
Right.
There's so much pre-Bible.
Oh my goodness!
You
Now,
know,
Erica, don't even do
so-
that. Don't even do that. Now, are you actually trying to say that people worship God before the Bible existed? Come on now. I don't think.
As long as there has been man, there has been connection to earth and sky and everything.
Right.
It's been a recognition, and even when we don't want to use the word worship, there is an appreciation of. There is a recognition of.
Right. If we study any time period, any continent, anywhere,
Any people.
any
period.
people, always there has always been the need for worship. There's always been the evidence of worship, and I don't care if it was a rock or a fire or whatever it was that was the center symbol for what represented the all to them. It was their form of worship, and that's something that we have needed intrinsically as human beings. And so the point that you're making, that the things that we study, the things that we practice in church, the things that we do in church, as Christians, we'll say it's in the Bible as a form to validate
Right.
that we can do this.
can do this.
You know what I'm saying? But in a real sense, we could do this, even if it's not, because we have had practices prior to the biblical text. The Bible is just the writing down of what the people of
Right.
God did.
But our ancestors were here before.
Yes,
You know.
yes. We've had people here for eons of years prior to that.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And you go talking about ancestors and this and that.
Now, see,
people-
that's a whole problem.
Yeah,
that's a
people
whole problem.
They run away and they want to say, "Oh, she would," they want to call you voodoo witch and all this other stuff. But our ancestors are our ancestors.
Yes.
That could be somebody that your grandmama that just passed. She's
Right.
your ancestor.
Yes.
So they take it and they put things on it to make it seem like it's wrong.
Right.
Everything that was passed down to us from our ancestors, because we are who we are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They have removed that from life, which
Mhm.
it makes it hard for people who want to embrace it
Right.
to be out loud with it. You get what I'm saying?
And that's sad. Even down to the practices of our ancestors, from the food that they cooked, I remember my grandmother would wake up first thing in the morning, and she hit them feet to the floor. She get to humming. She get to making them biscuits from scratch and all this right here. See, we thought that that's just what they did, but we didn't realize that these are spiritual practices. That the first feet that hit that floor in the morning, they set the spiritual tone and the energetic field, for that whole home. Them first feet that hit the floor, the one that is down on their knees. And y'all know there are people who do just touching things, going around and touching
Absolutely.
things and humming and singing and
I
just,
still do.
yes.
I do.
You are changing the atmosphere of your home. You're setting the tone of
Temperature,
things.
yes.
And we saw it in church. We partially participated, but we didn't understand the spiritual tenets and the underworkings, the inner workings of it. And that comes from the ancestors. That comes from the elders, that we dare to have conversation about the realness and the power of our spirituality outside of what is being wielded to us by the pastor and church leaders. The realness of our spiritual power, spiritual authority. If that were taken seriously, we would be a whole lot further in our ability to be effective as a church community, as a church body. Because I think that one thing is we don't look at the value of women and the clairs, right? What is clairvoyance and clairaudience and the value of women and their spiritual gifts.
Yes.
Let's go into that a little bit. Have you?
Hold
Go
on.
ahead.
Before you go there, you mentioned typically the woman in the house will go and do the thing.
Yeah.
Just like the mothers of the church will go into the church to prepare the place.
Yes.
And typically as women, we prepare the home, we prepare the thing, we make it so that our people can come into that space.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Even when I didn't know that's what I was doing,
Yes.
that's what I was doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
These spiritual practices. And I think that what we're getting into is the indigenous spiritual practices that we just kind of know and utilize and live in and through, that are just not acknowledged in the church, how we got it handed down to us. We do it like you said, the women of the church, they'll come and hum. And even back in the day, they used to prepare the why I can't think about it right now. The communion. They used to prepare the bread. They They baked it.
Yeah, because they weren't going to buy it, back in 22. What were they going to, they had to make these things.
Right. So these women baked this bread and made this bread. And I just think about like there's the thing in church that say you can't be, the women that made it were not allowed, you had to be of a certain age. You couldn't be childbearing age because your menstrual cycle, you weren't allowed to be a person that was on a menstrual cycle baking the bread. Some people might look at that and say, oh, that is sexist. But no, that's spiritual.
Yes.
That's very spiritual. And because we are not able to really talk about the spirituality of our menstrual cycle and the power, the spiritual power of the blood, yes, and us as women, since we can't begin to crack that open, then you're stuck with saying, well, they just got to be older and that's just why, and you can't be a deaconess unless you're older. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? So these things that we talk about in church. The other thing is astrology and crystals. Now, I'm going to say this about astrology. Like when I was talking about, I could see a difference between, say, me as a Libra. I could see a difference between me and, say, maybe an Aries. Like, I could see a difference. But then when you talk about it to people of the church, when you talk about it to kind of church leaders or anybody, baby, you better watch out because they're going to throw some... They're going to be stoning you.
They're going to be throwing that water.
Come as you are, as long as you don't believe in astrology.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about kind of your walk and your growth process, your spirituality. How did you, when you got to these parts where it was you're bumping your head against the wall where they're saying, no, you can't go there. Red flag, you can't go there. Alarm. How did you handle those things? And how did you handle those?
Me personally, I'll listen to anybody's opinion. And I'm going to, basically chew up the meat, spit out the bone.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So I don't let anybody's beliefs affect what I believe or what I'm doing. Like I said, I have my own relationship with God. And some things just, it's just
carries no weight.
Extra.
It carries no weight.
It's
right.
extra. You know what I'm saying? So, I have, I'm a Libra.
Mm-hmm.
That's my zodiac. That's my, that's my sign. Whatnot. Sometimes we have powers that if we let people smother it out, we don't get to use them.
Oh yeah.
I'm a healer. I know that's the gift that God gave me. Mm-hmm. That's why I do hair.
Yes.
Because I'm working with my hands.
Right.
They're a blessing.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. And right.
I don't like to say, church folks, but that's what it is.
Right.
Anything that, that is not just what they say it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking sometimes it's just, he said that, he made that up himself and made that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, like she was speaking, like the cult activities.
Uh-huh.
They build it around, this what he said now. We got to do this.
Listen to pastor.
Got to listen to pastor.
Because he said it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always
he said that's why it's right. It's right because he said it.
I always say, okay, it's one God. So if we all one God, if we all believe in one God, then I shouldn't have to just, I'm welcome everywhere.
Exactly.
It should be one big everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One big everything. We got one God.
Yes, it's one God. Yeah. And the attitude of more spiritual minded people, because what happens is you have black women that are now, most of us, a lot of us now, have said, you know what, I'm not churchy, or I don't go to church that much, but I'm very spiritual.
Yes.
I mean, that's the phrase right now. Why do you think that there has been the separation? Why is it that at times we feel like as spiritual people that we have to say, oh, I'm not like that, I'm actually spiritual? Why do you think that?
I can speak on that from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
What I've noticed, and when I'm using church people terms. Church people, they can point the finger and say, you can't. But they be the first ones to get out of church, gossip.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All the things
that you're not
they done
supposed
said,
to do.
yeah, that you looking at this person because they're not in church and saying, they ain't proper enough to be in here sitting next to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But why? Because I've had this conversation with somebody that just because you don't see me in church doesn't mean that I'm not God's child. I'm
Right.
not saved. I'm not all, whatever.
Yeah.
Because you think that I
Mhm.
have to be here Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and all the days.
Mm-hmm. In order to prove
So I can pay money and you know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Support the organization. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that too, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm gonna give just like I tip at wherever I go.
Right.
I'm gonna give what I'm gonna
It's
give.
an energy exchange.
Yeah,
We're gonna
give what
provide
I'm
the
gonna-
energy
exactly.
exchange. Yeah.
But I don't even let it. You can't make me feel. I don't let people make me feel guilty
Mhm.
about church.
Yeah.
And what you spoke. I don't.
I think,
I- yeah.
you made a really good point when you started talking about kind of what's proper versus what's improper, then what's right versus wrong. Those are not always the same. So, we want to be proper more than we want to be right.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
The proper thing to do would be to do this, that, and the third. The proper thing is to dress and come and do this.
But
and
if your heart ain't right, what difference do it make?
then it's not
you can
right.
You can look however you look, but if your
Listen.
heart is not right,
And the Bible deals with this. This is, and I'm using that as an authority too. And the Bible deals with this when it says, I don't even want all that what you got going on in church if you haven't made it right with your brother. There are times where I think that we forget the pomp and circumstance of church. Not discredits, but dissuades us in some way from being focused on being right. It hit me one time I had to preach, but I was upset with my son. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't get that sermon. I could not get that sermon. I couldn't get it right. And it was 3:00 in the morning, and I'm calling him, blowing his phone up. Please answer the phone. Please, he's a mom. I'm like, I just want to let you know that what I said, I am so, the priority of being right with each other.
yes.
Yeah. That's in my notes.
Say it what you said in your notes. Say what you said,
'Cause
so.
it's never more important to do good. It's more important to be good. Yeah. And that's not about show. That's about inside work. And it's not about being perfect in all the ways.
Right.
It's not. That's just not even a human thing.
Yeah.
It's just not. But it's about continuous elevation and working to do no harm in all the areas that you've thus far figured it out. You know?
Yes.
I mean, because where I'm good over here, I ain't so right. I ain't this thing.
It's still weak over there.
Come on, I'm with a new therapist. Give me some time. You
right.
know?
Right.
So, and even that's a whole nother topic when it comes to church folk and therapy and getting stuff right and getting up
Yes.
stuff and undoing the things and peeling back the layers and figuring out why are you always in sister so and so's face? You always in sister so and so's face because you haven't forgiven your mother.
Yes.
You're still dealing with the thing over here, so it keeps showing up. Your mama keeps showing up in these other relationships, or
Oh
you
my
whatever,
God.
you know.
Yes.
So, but there's not room in most church communities to
Mhm.
deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you just keep running into the same thing over and over and over again. And why sister so and so always in Mr. So and so's face or brother so and so's face? Because she hasn't worked out the rest of the stuff.
Wow.
You know, and guess
Wow.
what happened to her when she was 12 at the church? Yeah, she's still trying to please pastor in all the wrong ways because she wasn't healed. Nobody talked to her about why she's this way because nobody talked to her or asked her about what happened to her.
My God.
So yeah, so when you're 45 in church and everybody in your circle is acting up, it's because everybody's dealing with something different and nobody's having the right conversations.
Girl, I throw this thing at you. You done said so much. I don't even know what question to ask. You know. Oh, so yeah, because the sickness, we focus a lot on we focus a lot on how the illness is showing up instead of what happened. What do they say? Don't look at where you fell, look at where you tripped.
Yeah.
And in church, in church leaders, church folks, we're letting you know, we need for there to be a curiosity of how or why did this happen, or why are
Why
we
does it
doing
keep
this?
happening?
Yes, why does this keep happening? And many times, people bump their head and keep going in that same direction because it's trauma. A trauma response is to continue doing the same thing over and over until you get it right this time. And so I like how you said this wholeness is not valued. There are these integrative systems that should be and could be put in place. Not only do we get the Sunday morning word from God as a this reinvigorating motivation, and hopefully a epiphany moment that will link you to your own enthusiasm from heaven, right? There's that, but then there is the therapist. There should be a pastoral care department at the church that if there's not a qualified professional, then I can link you to one. And let's talk about what your insurance is or is not, right? There should definitely be this social work, case manager aspect to Christianity.
As a resource center. Because
Yes.
what you don't have, there should be somewhere for you to be shunted to.
Yeah, and I think that's where we get wrong. We want so bad. You just said it. We want the big building of the resource center. But guess what? We got Sister O that could be the resource center. She is that institution, right? We already have Sister Erica, who is a pre-therapist counselor who can help you work out your whatever by writing it out. You know, we have that here in the house, but since we're not looking at people as, you know, these integrative systems that need to be kept whole, kept well, then we're missing the mark. We're just going for, let's give them a motivational speech and feed them some chicken. I like that. But we do have a lot of churches that have different ministries, and I'm going to say that.
Right.
And I want to, because you're sitting here, I just want to shout out Zion Hope. I want to shout out Zion Hope for the work that they're doing. People go to Zion Hope and they love that church. Have you ever visited Zion Hope?
No.
Listen, people love that church, okay? And they got a new pastor, Pastor Mason, who seems to really brought some good life. We had Pastor Yates, and he's a big deal. Pastor Yates was a big deal to us. He was the moderator of the convention. You know how it's Baptists got their own little things going on. But he was a
I
big
have
deal.
to take your word on some of this.
We loved him.
I do.
And he passed away, and so we love him very much. And there's a new pastor that's come taking the church, taking the helm of things, and he's a young guy, and people really like him. So I'm going to say that there are churches that people are excited about, that, you know, there are needs getting met. There is a sense of belonging, and hey, it's all good. But for the large majority of Black women who have gone into spaces such as the church, you know, that have to break themselves up into just this one part. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I am a servant. And that's all that I can be here with you. You know, that's happening way too much. And if on the other side of it, as clergy, I am your everything that you don't want to pay for. I'm everything that you don't want to pay for from somebody else. And to prove that I should be this, to prove that I should be a clergy, I have to show up for you in every single way at all times, and make sure that you are right, so that I can maintain my title as, say, pastor or clergy. That really happens. We clergy is asked, preachers and teachers are asked to be all things to everybody in order to substantiate their title. And I think that that's something that is really leaning toward women. It's women in ministry that are expected to do that. There are women pastors that are expected to do that, or, you know, what's wrong. Whereas the man of God, he's busy. And we know that, you know, there are a lot of times people will not even let you around the pastor at some churches.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got to make appointment. You know what I'm saying? If you want to talk to the pastor, you question what's wrong with you that you don't have everything together, and your support network that you need to talk to him. I mean, it's just, don't act like that ain't what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. I know church secretaries who look at it as their responsibility to keep women away from the pastor. And so,
The gatekeeper.
yes, they're gatekeepers. So again, there is the living out of this kind of value system that says that women, it's a patriarchal value system.
Oh, it's in my notes.
Let me what your notes say. Tell me what you said in your notes.
Because that's so much a part of the problem. We have learned that in the beginning of time, most things were headed by women. But we know, as in church and churchiness and all the things, it's been a part of the based on the patriarchal system.
Yeah.
And it's so embedded that even many of the women fully take part in it. They practice it, they teach it, and aren't aware that that's what's being passed on.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
So there's that, because that's how we get to Pastor said,
Mm-hmm.
don't question Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing, because man knows everything and can handle everything except the things that he needs to be handling, because he's unwell as well.
Right.
So
right.
Patriarchy is a major problem. So instead of only teaching as kind of a spin-off of that, is not only about, or shouldn't be just about teaching, you got to get married, prepare to be a wife. But nobody's teaching the man how to become a husband or what is required of being a husband.
My God.
And no one's sitting with themselves long enough or learning themselves enough to even understand whether they want to become a husband or a wife.
That's so true.
Everybody's not meant to be married, and it's not because it's not because they're ugly or barren.
Right.
Some people just don't want to be a husband or a wife.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Some
that's
people
so
aren't meant to
real.
be.
That's real. That it's like a this carbon copy expectation that in order to serve God, you got to be married and you have to multiply the earth through having children, and that's just not that cookie cutter way is not designed for everyone at all.
It is not.
I love how you talked about the onus, the responsibility of the pastor or the man of God to develop maturely. I see that we women, gatekeepers, because we have internalized patriarchy and racism, we will cover up for the man pastor. That is a part. That's a part of the culture of church, that we cover up all the pastor's wrongs. Instead of, and I'm not saying witch hunt what I'm saying is require maturity. Have a certain expectation of growth. Every pastor's
not an expectation, but a standard. Because you can expect whatever you want, but if there's no standard, you're going to keep getting what you get.
Keep getting what you get. And right now we have pastors who behave poorly, but then because that standard is not accepted, it's not across the board, guess what? They're sent somewhere else. They're sent to the church in South Florida, or they're sent to the church in Alabama right quick. And with no sense.
Continue to victimize. Because people confuse it, because trusted is not synonymous with trustworthy. Everybody's not supposed to be in a position of authority.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
I can agree.
Girl, did she say, what did you just say that again? Trust what now? Trust was not the same.
Trusted is not synonymous with trustworthy. It's not.
Yes. You know what? I'm gonna ask this last question. I'm gonna ask this last question.
And you got a couple of comments.
What the comments say? Because I can't see them.
Let's see. It says, Glenroy Cole says, what church people don't understand is that there is no prerequisite stipulated in the Bible about who should come into a church and what they should entail and look like. There are plenty of well-dressed, Bible-toting devils in the church singing and preaching.
Amen.
Oh, my God. Yes, so true, Brother Glenroy. I love him. And shout out to you, your wife, your whole family. Yes, because just like we were saying, there's this shallow, what we said? what's respectable or what's proper.
Yeah.
We worship what's proper instead of what's right.
Yes.
That's good. Any more comments?
Yeah, Glenn Roy again, he says, there is no pastoral care for the pastors. Again, the church forgets that pastors are people too.
Absolutely.
And we have to see everyone, pastors included, as people, flesh, blood, emotions, and spirit.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
I used to think that in order to accept my call, because I got my calling when I was 6. I heard my calling when I was 6. And pastors all have different call stories. But my first call was when I was 6, 17 to 33. But the first time I was called, I was 6, and I thought that, oh, God, no, there's no way. There is no way that I'm going to not enjoy my life. That's the first thing I said. Like, God, I know I am not. I'll holler at you when I get in my 60s or 70s because there's no way I'm not gonna do that. But the expectation for pastors to be perfect but then on the other hand, seems to be an allowance for you to for certain people to just be lawless. And so we gotta the balance of that. And I think that, like we said, racism, sexism, and classism have a lot to do with that. If you are the right, you look the right way, you're the right gender, or you're saying you're non-gendered, or you got enough money, people will turn a blind eye to some of the things that you do.
Or whoever's trending.
Or whoever is trending.
Yeah.
Girl, y'all are showing out. Y'all showing out tonight.
I noticed that here in Pensacola, as he said, pastors are human.
Uh-huh.
Let a pastor say a cuss word. Oh, I'm going to another church.
I'm out of here. Right.
I'm just saying, like,
right.
stop.
Improper versus that is improper, but it ain't wrong. I mean, it ain't wrong.
The human.
Right.
Stop putting people on the pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
God is the only one. He the only one sit there.
Yes.
Everybody else is downhill with us.
We all down here. And I think that's a whole nother thing with there are pastors. You have people that are pastors, but then you have people that just
Exude leadership and
Yeah.
power and grace. And they just have that
they
thing.
got it. It's not a
Yeah.
title. It's not
Yeah.
anything that
It's a
anybody
way
can.
of being.
Yes. That's the word. Yeah.
Talk some more, because you done got me. I can't even with
It's
you tonight.
becoming. Go.
Yes, because there are people who when I go to sometimes when I'm gonna say crawl to her chair, like it's like the Bible deals with people crawling in on broken pieces. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I just got a broken pieces crawl into this sister's shrine room of a salon, for her to make me whole again. And there at that
we know how Tara
moment
is
she
about
is
her hair.
pastoring me. There have been times where I have gone to this sister's house and she has literally been Jesus and put my feet in. You know how you had them water? Y'all know them thing with
basin.
the massage.
The basin here.
Put my feet in it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, how did you know I needed this so much? So pastoring is not a title. It is an action. And I oftentimes feel pastored by Girl Church, feel pastored by the sisterhood, pastored by the women that come and put their love and wisdom and, girl, I know you did say that, around me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's necessary. That's something that's necessary. Go ahead.
I wanted to say I appreciate that, because I purposely, intentionally go into my salon every day before my guests come.
Preparing the place.
And I set the tone. It may be gospel music. It may be meditation music.
Yeah.
It's like I can feel what they may need, and not just women, my men too.
Right.
The men that come to my salon, they get the same treatment and they look for the same thing.
Wow.
Peace.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Peace. And I pray before so that I can give that person whatever it is that they need for that day.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And it ain't church. It's at my salon suite, Miss Diva's Den.
Say it. What's the address?
2590 North 12th Avenue.
Amen. There we go. So when y'all are going down or in the Pensacola area, please hit her up. I think what we're talking about is going from, you know how they say in church, like, you could be a member, but you could be a disciple. That's one thing. Being a member, being a disciple, and I understand that disciple, the idea is that we're following Christ. But sometimes in church, they make it be a disciple is you following the pastor by any means necessary. So I want to, let's scratch that. I think what you're talking about is us shifting into being actually the church.
Yes.
We're going from being church people to being the church. And I think that's what the real thing with this conversation is. This new generation of Black women and men, and I'm saying Black women because we're the majority. And
Right.
for many years, for so long, Black women in churches have been female majority and, women populated and male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
So because that has shifted, because the timeline of things, there's a new season, there's a new spiritual season, because we're in a new era of spiritual time, a new dispensation of time, as they might say. That is no more. And we are operating as the church. We're no longer getting permission from other people to be the church. She said it. She sets her whole thing up like the sanctuary. I know you do. That these are things that we're doing. Nobody had to give us permission to operate as an institution. So instead of me being mad at the church, well, y'all not talking about sex. Well, you know what? I am the church, and I'm about to have this conversation about sex, sexuality, and sexism, and all things taboo. I thank you all tonight. Thank you so very much for being a part of this conversation. Do you, queens, sisters, have any last things that you want to say, bring up, or mention for the enlightenment of the people in this conversation? Because what we're talking about is, has the church failed Black women? In many regards, we see that the church has failed to see us and the spiritual powerhouses that we are. The church has failed to position itself as a resource center for our ministries, which they say church that it starts at home, equipped us for being mothers, equipped us for being wives, but also equipped us for being spiritual leaders, equipped us with being good sisters, good daughters, good, you know what I'm saying? Instead of us being, it's okay for us to be servants. What about leaders? And to see us as leaders in the church and through the church in community. That to me, I think is my last words. What do y'all have to say?
For the church, people who are leading these churches and these buildings or whatever, heal thyself,
Ooh.
you know, and make it a way for your organization to not just, for your organization to be a part of the community
Mm-hmm.
and not just a building in the community taking up space.
Yes.
You know, and guess what?
Yes.
We don't need no more church building. We don't need another church building built for nothing. Not even a what are those storefront churches? We don't need no more.
Right.
We don't need no more because most of the times the building is empty.
Yeah.
Share space, and if we can't agree on that, what are we even doing?
What are we even doing?
Share space.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So there's that part. And
Look, we need to use the
buildings
buildings that we already
here.
have.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and we won't need so many building funds.
There we
you
go.
know, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And for the individuals, for the women, minister to yourself, minister where you are, and you will be put in places greater, grander for you to minister.
I love
You
that.
know, it'll be fitted for you.
Oh God, yes. Thank you, sis. Thank you. I love that. Amen. All right. Oh,
For me, I would just say, I was thinking what she was saying. You know what I'm saying? Work on yourself because we are the church. This is the church right here. So we have to work on ourselves from the inside. Once you're good on the inside and you have your relationship with God, He's going to send you to the places that you need to be to do your works. We don't need permission.
Right. None.
We don't need permission from anybody but God to do the work of God. And that can be in my salon, that can be in her place, your place, wherever it is.
Yes.
We don't need permission.
Oh, man. Thank y'all. Oh, how wonderful. Look. Whew. And to the woman who, you grew up in church and you raised your children in church and you're sitting back, you're trying to figure out, why don't my children come to church? Why don't my grown children come to church? Why don't they send their children to church? A lot of times it's not because they don't love God. It's because they are being the God that they learn to be. And I thank you so much for having the wherewithal, having the energy, having the love and the life to want to be here having this conversation with us. Thank you for all your comments, and we appreciate you. And just remember, you are the church. Wherever you go, you are the church. Thank you. Peace. All right, y'all. It says